Alright guys, welcome back to Flipping Friday, episode numero dos. Today we have a gaming PC that I paid just $603 exactly for. Gonna be making quite a profit on today's build, and just like always, everything that I talk about today is linked down in the description.
GVG Mall is not just the sponsor of today's video, but it's literally the exact website that I personally use to activate my Windows 10 on almost every single PC that I build here in the studio. For a limited time only, GVG Mall is giving ZTT viewers a massive 25% off discount code if you use ZTT18. Yeah, that's a bump up from 18%, but that only lasts for a few more days, so make sure you take advantage. Please don't be one of those PC flippers that has to explain in the description of your post what an unactivated version of Windows 10 is. Just pay the tiny price tag on GVG Mall, way cheaper than retail by the way, activate every single one of your builds, and reap the benefits in your flipping business. Don't forget to use discount code ZTT18.
Alright, so jumping straight into the parts list, specifically the performance parts, the graphics card we have is the GTX 970 with 4 gigabytes of VRAM. The CPU we're using today is an Intel i3 10100F. That's going to be plugged into an MSI B460 Mag motherboard, which is ATX sized, and also for the RAM we have a kit of this Neo Forza, which is 2 by 8 gigabytes, and it's actually clocked at 3600 megahertz. So just like always, we'll talk about all of the rest of the parts as we start building, but for right now, let's cue up the building montage, and then we're gonna build this and make us some money. Let's go.
Just my kind of heat, keep it on repeat, testify the motion, loving this devotion.
Alright, so starting off with this MSI Mag Tomahawk B460 motherboard. I actually picked this up used on eBay for $110. The problem with using budget LGA 1200 CPUs like this 10100F is they don't make a lot of super cheap motherboards, which obviously isn't good for flips. This was a pretty good deal, and we needed a full-size ATX motherboard because of the case, which we'll talk about a little bit later. This 4-core and 8-threaded Intel i3 10100F is actually a really good CPU for flipping. Now for today's build, unfortunately, we're just going to be using a stock LGA 1200 cooler. I actually got this from a different CPU cooler, but for those of you that are PC flippers, more than likely you have one of these in stock. If not, you'll just have to add like $20 to your parts total to put a better than the blue ugly stock cooler that this one comes with. So that's what I'm going to be using today. For a budget low-end CPU, this cooler will be perfectly fine, especially for a flip like this. The motherboard process is almost complete, and it's actually looking super clean so far. The last part we have to install is just this M.2 SSD. It is NVMe, however, this is from a brand that I've never heard of before, and I doubt you guys have either. It's called the Clev Crass. It's an M.2 NVMe drive. The reason why I bought it is because it only cost $42 brand new. I can't imagine that this is going to be a super high quality NVMe drive, but for $42, I'm willing to take the gamble on it. I actually bought 7 of them, so you're going to be seeing them in some upcoming videos. As long as it doesn't fail, and as long as it's like reliable and whatnot, it doesn't break, this could be the true MVP of today's flip. 42 bucks. quick little cable extension tip for this GTX 970. It actually has two 6-pin connectors, which is a little bit different. I don't think they do that anymore. And they don't make 6-pin cable combs. So I'm going to be using 3 of these 24-pin cable combs and custom cutting them just with some diagonal cutters. That way I can butt both of these 6-pin connectors up against each other, and it's going to look so much better as opposed to just 2 separate strands going down that aren't connected. You'll see soon, it's going to look amazing. All right, so now that the motherboard is prepped and the power supply is prepped, it's time to take a look at this case, guys. And I have literally never even heard of this brand before, probably rightfully so, because we're already having just a couple of issues with it. The things that stick out the most are the cable management here is just absolutely atrocious. Now, it does come with 7 RGB fans, which is good for flipping, but they are connected to a fan hub that's powered by Molex, so not the end of the world on that. However, they are literally all configured to be intake fans. All 7 of them are trying to draw in air into the case, which we obviously don't want. So right now I'm going to have to flip the orientation for these 3 to be exhaust, as well as this one, and then these front 3 can stay as intake fans.
All I want is satisfaction. Make a move, baby, you got nothing to lose.
So this is a pretty interesting development for this case. I'm actually almost done with the build, as you can see, but you just saw the clip of me remove this vertical PCIe bracket mount. You actually can't position this unless I don't think you can position this to be horizontal. You just have to take out the individual brackets from this piece and install them into here. But the problem is it only came with 3 because that's all you usually need for a vertical mount. So I had the 3 black ones here that I installed, and they were short by quite a few. So I actually grabbed some of these white brackets that I had laying around in the studio and just kind of created a little bit more of a black and white look, which is what we're going for here, if you couldn't tell already. So this actually does look cool in the end, but definitely something to be aware of if you're going to use this case. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so the build looks complete. Let's go and turn this on and see if we get some RG. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That actually looks pretty decent. Let's test out this remote real quick. See if we can get some red action. Maybe. Oh, there we go. Okay. So the RGBs are working. This build is actually looking pretty fire. The case, I don't know, man. I think that actually looks pretty good. See what it looks like with blue. Oh my. That looks awesome. So yeah, if you've never used this case before, it wasn't the easiest to cable manage. Also, definitely not a fan of those PCIe brackets, like I was saying. But other than that, oh, and the orientation of the fans, that was definitely super annoying. Had to change the orientation of all 4 of those. But I don't know, man. For $60, with all that RGB, that looks pretty clean in my opinion. Let's check out the full parts list before we wrap up this video. All right, guys, so here you have it. This is the full parts list, and like I said in the intro of this video, the total comes out to just $603. I'm gonna try to initially sell it for $750, which isn't the absolute best bang for your buck price to performance with the 10100F and the GTX 970, kind of like how we did it in episode 1, but we all know the current situation right now with the GPU shortage, and right now I have absolutely no doubt that somebody is gonna want to pick this up for $750, especially with how good the aesthetics are looking. And then I didn't do this last time, but I actually had Sam whip up a quick benchmarking run. I'll put those on the screen right now. I don't know how many of you actually care. It's probably important because you want to put your benchmarking numbers on the postings of your flips, but these are the numbers that Sam came up with real quickly. Obviously, everything here is in 1080p resolution. And then as always, guys, this build will actually be sold over on my website, zaxtechdrift.com, if any of you are interested. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this second episode, aka Flipping Friday numero dos. This was definitely a fun one. I'm glad that I got to experience this brand new case. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your Friday and a good weekend.